That is the ongoing vetting process in Parliament. Mr. Amewu is facing the committee. He is Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources. Will be engaging, exploring the issues that they've been touching on, and looking and look also at the bigger picture. I'm talking about the number of people who have already been vetted and some of the issues that have arisen from the vetting. I have here in the studio with me Judge Lowe. Judge Lowe is a former member of Parliament for North Dying. You're welcome, sir. And it's good to have you on the show.
Thank you, and it's good to have you as well.
Thank you. So we'll be engaging him, and then we'll be exploring the issues, like I said, that have arisen from Parliament on the vetting, and of course about the alleged bribery scandal. But before that, let's touch on this story quickly. The death toll in the kindergarten building collapse in the central region has risen to 8, with many more toddlers in critical condition. The incident took place at the Methodist Primary School at Dama and Brenya. Let's go live there as rescue efforts get underway. Richard Kojonyako is our central regional correspondent. Hello, Richard. Richard, bring us to speed on developments so far.
Well, officially, the death toll still stands at 6. Hospital officials have confirmed, and they did confirm to me a short while ago. So the 8 were just mere speculations and rumors, but now it is confirmed that 4 died on the spot and 2 died on their way to the hospital. 5 girls, 1 boy, and the place currently has been cordoned off by the instruction of the district assembly and the police in the area. Now, what happened this morning was that the children had come to school, and these are mainly kindergarten pupils, and so their age ranges between 2 and 5-year-old pupils. When they came, they were sorting out their canteens. Some were eating and others were playing around. And so part of the building collapsed on them. They had not entered the building. So if the children had entered the building, the casualties would have been enormous. But they were just playing around. And so the district assembly and the district directorate of education went there. They've gone to the hospital. They've inspected the casualties. And now what we can confirm is that 3 people are at the Bremene-Sikuma government hospital, and 1 was treated at the CHIPS compound near the Jamra and was discharged. So 3, I'm told by doctors that they are in a stable condition. So what we can report now is that 6 people have been confirmed dead in the building, in the school block that collapsed on the children this morning.
6 children we're talking about here. How have their parents responded to the news, and how was it broken to them?
It's been very, very difficult for them, and the town was thrown into a state of mourning this morning when the news broke, and so all of them rushed to the scene. I'm told that this building has been there. It was a community-initiated project, and so it's not a government. When they did not have enough classrooms, the community decided that let's put up this building. So it was a community effort. But the foundations of this building were very weak, and so it couldn't support the structure. And there have been some cracks on the building that prompted attention from the authorities. So I just spoke with the District Coordinating Council for Bremene-Sikuma, and he's looking at, taking care of situations as they do not have the state chief executive now. And he told me that they've awarded a building on contract, and the contractor is even on site. Now, the contractor had wanted to pull down this dilapidated structure, but the community intervened, saying that, well, they should leave it for a while as the other blocks are occupied, and so they should leave it to them so that the children will school in them. And so it so happened that this morning that unfortunate incident happened. It's a tragic blow to the town folk here at the Jamra community, or a town in the Sikuma or the Bimbrakwa district.
Before I let you go, Richard, I'd like to find out what's going to happen from here. Do we know anything about what's going to happen from today?
Well, the family members have been advised by health officials, and I was also informed by the coordinating director that the children will be given a mass barrier maybe tomorrow or on Thursday, because these are kids and they are not adults, and so they wouldn't want to keep them in the morgue for a very long time. And so they are making preparations so that they bury all of them. But as a matter of urgency, the place has been cordoned off, and they want the people to stay away, and the teachers are to also ensure that no one goes to the scene of the accident or where that incident happened. So this is the latest on the development that occurred at Jamra town in the Sismo of Brakwa.
Thank you very much, Richard Kojonyako. Richard Kojonyako is our Central Regional Correspondent, bringing us up to speed on that very heartbreaking incident that happened there this morning. Bright Apia is a child's rights advocate. He joins us on the line as well. Hello, Bright.
Hello.
Thank you very much for your time here on the Pulse. Now, you've heard all that Richard has told us about what happened today, and it's quite heartbreaking. I'm wondering, from a child's right perspective, how would you rather this situation is dealt with?
Yeah, well, I think that it's a very sad story, but whatever it is, I think that we just need to take steps to do the right things and ensure that children are safe in any school environment that they find themselves in and all that. So if a structure, putting up a structure for school by the Children's Act, if you look at the LI, it gives a certain ways and means that such schools must be constructed, so to the extent that it even gives dimensions. So the matter of we applying the law and ensure that at least we do not do certain things that would always put the lives of children into the kind of situation that they are in now. So I would just say that the authorities must be up and doing and ensure that they put things in place to avoid a situation where we would have the same stories and all that. And where buildings are not the things that they need to occupy, then at least the technical people must always give advice, so that at least people can take up these issues and then deal with it.
That sounds more like a preventive measure, but would you recommend any specific actions that need to be taken on the part of government to serve as those preventive measures? Because it's easy to perhaps say that they should do more, but what exactly should they do if we're talking about doing more?
Yeah, well, one thing that is that's most important is the kind of materials or the permission that we give to people to construct a classroom. Your reporter, this is something that the committee itself decided to do. So it wasn't part of the normal business of the state to provide facilities for children to study in. So that makes it a bit complex, because this is a voluntary service that the community decided to do to resolve some of these issues. But again, it comes back to the issue of the technical advice that we give, even if people want to do their own personal initiative, especially construction of social services activities and all that. So for me, adherence to some of the dimensions or the way and manner we need to construct our schools are very important. So those are the things that we need to do. But in terms of the legalities, I will find it a bit difficult to say that we can hold somebody responsible. But what we need to wish for these children is that we need to safeguard the environment for their well-being.
Would you, by the way, your organization want to lead some kind of initiative that will perhaps check the safety of buildings that we house children like this, or children like these who have died subsequently?
Of course. One of the things that we have started doing is the even roads that lead to where schools are, so that the drivers when they get to that place, they need to take measures to ensure that at least they provide the needed respect for children when they cross the road and all that. And then also responding to some of the provisions that we have in the LI to the Children's Act as to how school buildings must be constructed, the ventilation system that we need to create and all that.
Sorry to cut you, Bright, but those are things, like you said, those are things, established things. We know they're there, but we're not really doing it. So my question was to find out from you as a child rights advocacy group, whether or not you'd like to lead some kind of initiative that brings, puts the spotlight on these buildings, maybe recently from tomorrow. There's a new government, of course, if you want to engage the ministry, children's ministry, you know, on something like this.
Of course. Anything that will protect the interests of children would always be there to do that.
Okay, we'll say a very big thank you to you. Right up here is the Child's Right International. He's a child right advocate, helping us touch on that particular story. That's very heartbreaking. But George Lowe, who also, he's a former member of Parliament, but in Parliament he also dealt with issues concerning child safety. Am I right?
Yeah, you are, and it's sad hearing things like this, you know.
Yeah, but beyond sadness.
Well, I mean, you see, we need to understand something very clearly, that we are in a situation where we need, like I said, not to treat these things as business as usual. We should go the extra mile, you know, as a state, as a nation state, and decide to implement policies that we have on our books.
But you were there in Parliament. To what extent will you say you implemented policies that were meant or were geared towards protecting children like this, and especially because this is a community project? Because of course, perhaps government's intervention wasn't enough, so the government decided to, the people in the community decided to help themselves, and this is what has happened.
You see, as a policy, we should also realize that we never took preschool seriously in this country. For many years, government in itself did not build one preschool anywhere. So communities churches were putting up these things, and then communities were putting up these structures. Obviously, when community structures are put up, they are not done with all the fine skills or skilled persons that you want, engineers, properly trained people, just community labor and things like that. And that is where we find ourselves. It's only until recently that when we started this Get Funded projects, that you had government itself now going out there to, you know, as it were, to provide these things. We should expedite action on them, because as we go around, you still see some of these structures dotted across the country. And I have always said, you know, that in fact, when the story broke, I told myself, Jesus Christ, this is only one in it. Several
children.
Yeah,
he says their ages range from, I think, 2 to 5.
Yes, and I'm saying that this is just one out of several thousands that are dotted in the country. And indeed, when you go to these places, sometimes you even see these cracks, visible cracks on the wall. You visit these structures and you see that this is a structure that will collapse any day. Our children continue to face these hazards because, like I said, as a policy, we haven't shown interest in preschool, provision of preschool educational facility until in very recent times. So I think that as much as possible, we should zoom down on it and expedite action and ensure that as all communities where we have these schools are pulled down and new structures are put in place as quickly as possible. I mean, for me, it's even more heart-wrenching when it was said that the contractor pointed out to the community that, look, this is a death track, let's put it down. And then they said, no. But we could have moved the children. In other places, they moved their children to the chapel, for instance, where, you know, I mean, after all, they are kids and they play and sing and
it's a needless.
It's a needless, and my heart goes out seriously to the parents. If you've been that road before, you know what it is sometimes to lose the little ones. You know.
Anyway, well, we'll move on from that story. It's quite heartbreaking, but we'll move on. Let's now begin to talk about the vetting. Well, the vetting of President Akufo-Addo's ministerial nominees are continuing. Today, we've seen Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources go. We're expecting Minister Designate for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia, Minister Designate for Employment, Ignatius Bafwewa, and Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources, I mentioned previously, John Amewu, whose vetting has started. So far, 16 people have already been vetted, and I've just been told that Peter Amewu's vetting process has just ended. So those are live visuals from Parliament, from the committee there. He'll be smiling and shaking hands and all of that. I believe that he's impressed with what he has done so far. The verdict, of course, lies with the committee, and that's why we'll be touching on that. George Lowe, like I said, is former member of Parliament for North Dine, and I believe that you've been following the vetting so far.
Yes, I have.
Okay, let's touch briefly on Mr. Amewu's vetting today. That's the freshest. What do you make of his vetting? Well,
I mean, in fairness to Peter Amewu, I think that he's held himself out quite well. I think that he's demonstrated to a large extent knowledge about the sector. He's going to, and so he's done his homework well. And, you know, unless something phenomenal comes up.
There was a question.
Generally,
he's done well in your estimation. There was a question about Galamsey and how he was going to tackle Galamsey, and Galamsey is one of the biggest problems that we have here in as a country. We don't seem to know how to deal with it. We seem to be, you know, scratching the surface and leaving the root of the problem. He was not really, let me just ask you what you make of the answer he gave, because he appeared not to be straightforward with the answers that he gave. I don't know if you got the same impression. Well,
the answers came from two different perspectives. But he was of the view that, I think the most crucial question came from the fact that he said his flag bearer had made a commitment. And he says, well, the commitment is that when we come, we'll legalize Galamsey. So during the process, if you legalize and other people decide to still do, you know that people confuse these things. You know that Galamsey, and then you have small-scale mining. You know, we have small-scale mining. Small-scale mining is regularized. Is legal.
Right.
So if other people are doing illegal business,
but those are also small-scale.
Yes. So they are saying that maybe they will ask you to regularize, go and register, make it a proper business so that you can be monitored. But if, because people don't want possibly to be taxed and other things, you still want to go and go underground, then they will flash you out. But the first line would be that let's give everybody like an amnesty period within which you go and regularize. And then if you don't fall in line, then...
But the issue is that he did not really tackle it head on. The question was, will you legalize Galamsey, I believe, and then he goes like, the law will deal with the people. I mean, we know the laws are there. The laws are supposed to deal with the people who go contrary to the law, but does it happen?
Well, as to whether it happens or not, you see, I take one approach. Here is somebody who says, this is what we are coming to do. So until you give the person an opportunity and he doesn't do it, are you just going to keep running and say he cannot do it?
I see. Okay.
That's me. That's my attitude.
That's yours.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean that very soon he will take office. Then we'll see whether he understands exactly what he's saying, or he's committed to what he's saying, or is one of the nice things we come and say. The laws, like you said, the laws will be there.
Okay.
But implementation is everything.
Let's touch briefly on the vetting so far. 16 people have been vetted. Yesterday we saw Madam Otiko Jaba. What do you make of her? Some people, I mean, on social media, there's all kinds of things going on. Some people say that she sounded arrogant. Some people say, well, she stood up to being bullied.
Well, I think that depending on where you sit or depending on which lenses you wear, everybody would. But I think that the position of Minister designate for gender and social protection is so important that we would have loved to see somebody who exhibited in her conduct, you know, some high degree of humility and understanding of the sector.
It's humility. I mean, really.
You see, when we say humility, people think that humility means that you should be browbeaten. No, that's not what we are talking about. But you see, decency of answer, posture. I mean, you should be out there for people to say, oh, nice woman, look.
You don't think she put herself out there as a nice woman?
At all. Juxtapose that with Gloria Kufu. I'm sure that if you went around and you studied, you went on social media.
Perhaps you did a poll.
People were happy that she came very prepared. And yet, you know, her posture and everything shows that I'm here to be scrutinized.
Gloria Kufu, you mean?
Yes. Otiko didn't give me the impression that she understood that she was here to be scrutinized before past. She gave the impression that, well, I'm coming to face you. And that is bad. Some of the ways she did her things, I mean, some of the questions did not fall in line at all.
Give me examples.
For instance, you are asked what your policy direction be for orphanage. You say you build walls. Wall building, is there a policy? So obviously, he doesn't understand the sector in which he's going.
But is that fair? Is that a fair judgment on your part to say that just because she answered a particular question?
Not one question. No, not one. Look, There are several. I'm sure that if you play the tape, I will give you countless examples when she has given answers that were not relevant to the question or that she was.
But doesn't it depend on the kind of questions? Because so if, for instance, you ask, I mean, there were questions, and people have criticized this on social media and say there are questions about whether or not she has spoken to her mother, and people were wondering, is that relevant? Do you think that was relevant? And whether the haircut or the kind of haircut that she has?
You see, I mean, let me be a bit mischievous. Why didn't you come topless?
Well, she was not topless.
No, I'm saying, why didn't you come topless to this? I mean, to host this program? Why didn't you? I mean, do something crazy to come to this program? Because you know people are. Because you see, when you go out there and you want to do things in showbiz, go and join showbiz. When public trusteeship is being conferred on you, your attitude should be different. And people have a right to scrutinize you, because when Okutiko goes to sit in that office, your tax, my tax, everybody else's tax is what we are going to use to pick.
But it has it got to do?
Yes, I am saying that if you are supposed to deal with social protection, the vulnerable in society.
The vulnerable in society, what has that got to do with my haircut?
No, wait. The vulnerable society, okay? There you go and you don't talk to your mother for 2 months, right? At her age, she's far older than me, so her mother should be in her 70s getting onto 80s. If you can leave that old lady for 2 months without speaking to her, I can't trust you with my little daughter.
How fair is that?
That is very fair.
There may be family issues.
Please, I am saying that you should stay above board when you want public trusteeship conferred on you. That is it. Right? That is why we say that when the president nominates, the president should nominate everybody and let him go to the office to work. But we are saying that we want to know the kind of people you are sending there. And it is for that reason that we are asking the questions. Do you have a daughter?
No.
Okay, you don't. But will you want your daughter to have a half hair working?
But
please,
seriously.
Please, we are Africans. We have values. We have cultural values. Okay?
And so are you saying that Otiko Jaba's hairstyle
has everything to do with the office she's going to occupy? She's going to represent Ghana, both local and international fora. We want our Minister for Women and Social Protection to look decent. That is the word, decent.
You think she doesn't look decent?
Not at all. Not at all. In that
She appeared before.
The kind of haircut that she carried around during the campaign, I thought that it was disgraceful.
Yesterday she appeared.
Well, I am saying that she's done it before. She can do it again. So let's not. It is very good that.
Isn't it more about competence and your ability to deliver, your ability to put in place, to execute policies that protect children and the vulnerable in society, rather than the kind of haircut you have?
So why do we worry about how our presidents dress? Why should the president's posture, the president's dressing become a public issue in Ghana from time to time? So you are happy when President Akufo-Addo wears singlet to the UN General Secretary, general meeting? Or that you are happy President Akufo-Addo wears only undies to walk around? Please, let's get serious. These are issues we need to interrogate. They are, look, I'm saying that public trusteeship is being conferred on you. The president is not for nothing that we say he is a fountain of honor. And so should his ministers.
Do you believe in her competencies? Do you believe that she'll be able to deliver on the mandate if she is approved?
For instance, from where I sit, from her posture and everything, I cannot count on her to be competent.
Is posture good enough to judge her?
It's one of the attributes that you use to judge. And so far, those are things that I've seen. Even her CV leaves a lot of gaps in there. She hasn't even done national service. And she wants us to use our money to look.
She said she was not in the country at the time.
It is not an excuse. Did she apply for exemption? Please, let's get serious with this kind of thing.
Apart from Otiko Jaba, who else who has been vetted so far have you got issues with?
You see, it's not a matter of getting issues with people. You don't know. I have had the opportunity to do on other TV stations assessment of most of them. Okay. And even where people think that I thought Osafo Mafo did fairly well, there are questions that we are not comfortable with. I thought that many others did quite well. You know, there were questions, of course, and those are questions that goes beyond just our discussion. For instance, I am always amused where at any point in time, certificates get washed away by rainwater and things like that. Those are things we can look for.
Well, it's a possibility.
Well, but it's a possibility. is a possibility only during the NPP vetting era. Because
Really?
I can give you several of their ministers who, Mukta Bamba, Isikwe, and many others who came, and they can either fire will bend their certificate or rain will take it away. Maybe fire and rain only happens in their houses. Fine. That is for another day. I, for instance, was worried about Ken Oforiatta and the Frontier, International Frontier Company matter. Okay. He is a director of an international offshore company. We want to know the extent of the directorship and why we shouldn't be worried that he will siphon money out of the jurisdiction and things like that. Those were issues that came that I didn't like. There are issues that I had. But generally speaking, I would say that, I mean, like I said, on the average, apart from Otiko, on the average, you rate people for 60%.
60%?
Yes.
I see. Interesting. It appears that we may have to go back to Parliament because the second vetting session has started. Ignatius Bafoiwa is facing the committee right now. And I'll come back to you, Mr. Lowe. But let's go quickly to Parliament and hear what's happening there with that vetting.
Of course, I made reference to the seized Parliament.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure Honorable Ablakwa will take you through some portions of your CV. But just to start, Deputy Regional Minister and Regional Minister, if you just give a vague provision, 2006 to 2009, I wouldn't have known whether you assumed office in January.